Hi, good morning, all. So, I started typing out a post to put on Facebook, and it just wasn't coming across the way that I wanted it to, right? So, the emotion that you put into something when you're writing it and how people read it could be completely different. And so I thought, well, I'll just hop on and do a quick video, which isn't easy, especially the topic of today and kind of what's been on my mind and what's going on. So Lorain County Dog Kennel, which is our kennel here where we're located, is full. They've been full. They've been struggling. We, Multiple Breed Rescue, has pulled a lot of dogs from there this year. Not all of them ended in adoption. And that is because the dogs had some severe behavioral problems. They bit. They were threatening to bite again. And people and other animals were at risk. Ugh. It's a hard reality, right? And it comes down to, and I hate this saying, you can't save them all. But you know what? We can try. And we do. We do the best we can. The bad thing is that right now, things aren't okay. Putting the pandemic aside, let's pretend 2020 statistics don't exist, okay? Right now, in 2022, compared to 2019, the last time anything was normal, adoptions are way down. Shelter time, and that could be in a rescue, so in a foster home, or actually in a shelter, is longer for dogs than it was in 2019. So ultimately what that means, instead of a dog, and our average is an adult dog gets adopted within 45 days. That's from the day we take it in, get all of its vetting done, get it assessed, get applications processed, and send it out the door, right? Get it a home is 45 days. That right now is blown out of the water. We are running at, we've had Sage, a puppy, who came in as a puppy for 5 months. Like, she's a good dog. She's a lot of dog as far as she's super smart. She's, has some energy to her. She has 3 legs. We've had her for 5 months. 5 months. She came in as a puppy. Who doesn't want a puppy? It's just crazy. And so things are just different right now. So we can save the Sages of the world who do not have a behavioral problem, or we can save the dogs with a behavioral problem who may or may not be adoptable at some point, and then the Sages of the world die. So that is the game of chess that we play in the rescue world. If you are running a rescue legitimately, honestly, truthfully, safely, without being a hoarder, without having, and I'm sorry, the mentality of save them all at all costs. I don't believe in saving them all at all costs. I believe it's saving them all and trying our best, but understanding and realizing when it's time to call uncle. My July was not a good July. There were dogs I was working with and I put a ton of effort into and that I absolutely loved. And that if it was my dog and I kept the dog, they would more likely be fine. But I have to be able to get the dogs to a point where I can hand the leash over and know they aren't going to kill another dog, that they aren't going to destroy someone's house and hurt themselves, that they aren't going to hurt another person. And so it comes down to quality of life. And when I speak of quality of life, I don't speak of it as quality of life for the dog. I speak of it as quality of life for all involved. So if you, as an owner, are trapped in your home and your whole life revolves around your whole life revolves around the fear that your dog is going to hurt itself or hurt another dog or hurt a human, that's not a quality of life for you. And it's more than likely not a quality of life for the dog either, although you think it is, because it can experience things like going out for walks or you having people over and being socialized and those kind of things. So a lot of hard choices had to be made in July, and it really put me in a dark place, I'll be honest. I'm better now, putting some things into perspective and reflecting on it. You know, I'm okay for now, right? But now we're dealing with Lorain County Kennel being full. And I so appreciate everyone who has messaged and texted and called and put in applications and saying, hey, I want to foster. Hurry. These dogs are going to die at noon today. Noon today. Today, Friday. Right? I actually think they were supposed to be put down yesterday, but I think they got reprieve until today. So hurry, process my application. I appreciate you. I really do. But it's weeks too late, right? So we've been asking for foster homes and saying that this day was coming for all summer. We weren't kidding. We weren't lying. We weren't trying to sing a sad song to get you to foster. We knew this was coming. And I don't know, you didn't have time. You chose to ignore. You didn't believe us. You thought someone else would step up. But it didn't happen, and so now we are where we are. So, yes, we will process your application. Yes, we want you to foster for us. Yes, we can use the help. But for the dogs that are scheduled to be put down today, it's too late. However, asterisk that for a moment. I spoke to the dog wardens at Lorain County Kennel, and I said, tell me about them. What are their issues? What are their good points? What do you see their future being like if someone took them in and helped them? The truth is that the dogs that were selected to be euthanized are being euthanized for a reason, okay? So they may not have been the dogs there the longest, probably close to the longest, but they're having issues. The one is very dog reactive, very dog aggressive, to come down to it. That is not fair to put others at risk, okay? So it is not fair to take that dog in and to use a lot of resources to rehabilitate that dog that may or may not get rehabilitated, okay? And let others that do not have behavioral problems, that are not dog aggressive, die because we're using up resources for that dog. Hopefully that makes sense. The other dog is also having behavioral problems. Now, some of these could be exaggerated because they're in a sheltered environment. But we don't have the luxury of taking the risk to find out, of pulling them out of that environment. And at the end of the day, I'm trading one shelter for another, right? I'm not going to pull these dogs and send them to a foster home. They're not safe. So I'm going to pull these dogs and I'm going to bring them to my kennel where I'm going to work with them. So I'm trading one shelter for another shelter. At the end of the day, that's not beneficial, right? And I will be putting my volunteers, my employees, myself, my child, the boarding dogs in my facility, the other rescue dogs in my facility at risk if these dogs are dangerous. So you have to weigh out all of the options as much as they suck, right? So the 3 dogs that are going to be euthanized today have issues, have problems that may or may not be fixable. And even at the end of the day, if they're not fixable, they could be manageable. then we go back to the topic of quality of life. So manageable means barriers and gates and extra locks and not having people over and not having friends over and not going on walks and barricading your backyard and all of that. And really, you have to think that a dog that is in that mental of a state, that the sound of another dog or the sight of another dog or a human or whatever causes them to escalate so much. Anyone who suffers from anxiety, which is half of the planet, let's be honest, stress, any kind of stresses and anxiety, depression, any of those things that we all suffer from time to time. Imagine living in that state with no reprieve forever. Is that fair to the dog? It's not fair to the dog. So there are worse things than death. There's worse things than death, like total isolation. There's worse things than death, like complete and total panic, manic, all the time. So, does it suck? 100%. But at the end of the day, it's probably the best. So it isn't shame on Lorain County Dog Kennel, shame on the dog wardens, shame on Amy for making this video. It isn't shame on all the rescues out there who won't take these dogs. It isn't shame on the trainer who won't take on this dog. It isn't shame on the foster homes for not wanting to foster, or shame on those who didn't turn in their foster home application quick enough. It's shame on the breeder. Could have been a backyard breeder. Probably was a backyard breeder. It's shame on the person who didn't spay or neuter their dog that allowed them to breed, that created these dogs. It's shame on the person who allowed this dog to be picked up by the dog warden for running stray. It's shame on the person who didn't train the dog properly to start with. Shame on the person who didn't socialize this dog to start with. So I guess at the end of the day, this video is twofold. One, the Lorain County Kennel is doing the best that they can with the resources that they have, with the staff that they have, with the volunteers that they have, right? These decisions are not easy for them. It does not come lightly, and a lot of thought was put into them. So I don't want to hear, and I don't want to see, shame on them. This is not their fault. They did not create this problem. They're solving it. And I don't want to hear, how dare Amy make this video? How dare Amy say these things? How dare Amy not take them in? How dare Multiple Breed Rescue turn their back on these dogs? Is not what we're doing. What goes on behind the scenes is a lot. And there were discussions and there were thoughts and there were people that went up and they saw these dogs and they talked to the kennel keepers and they talked to the volunteers and they talked to the wardens and they talked to the finders of these dogs and witnessed their behavior. And unfortunately, we can't save them all. But we do what we do, the best that we can do with the resources that we have, with the limited volunteers that we have, right? Again, appreciate everyone. And if you don't want to see this continue to happen, then education, number one. Stop funding the backyard breeders and the puppy mills, number two. Probably a tie with number one, right? And volunteer. Volunteer at the kennel to get those dogs out, get them walked, get them exercised so they don't lose it. Come to us, to Multiple Breed Rescue, and work with our shelter dogs here, that our dogs that are in the rescue. because the discussion yesterday with the board was, well, we could totally pull this one dog. It's a really sweet dog. It's really nice. It's great. And it's everything. And I said, I can't have one more dog at this kennel. I can't. I'm by myself. Like, I can't do it. On top of that, personal note, you know, all of my workers, except for Bobby, have gone back to school, whether it's in another city or just back to school, so their availability is limited. So I'm in this kennel by myself, training, answering emails, doing rescue stuff, working with the rescue dogs, working with my stay and train dogs. And I'm not complaining because I definitely enjoy it. So it's a good tired, but at the same time, I can't take on anything else, right? So if we're going to take on more, then I need more volunteers here. Coming in, sitting with Sunny, sitting with Charcoal, taking Max for a walk. And I'm more than happy to, you know, have a volunteer come and I work one of my training dogs and they work one of the rescue dogs, and I teach you how to do things and how to work stuff so that we can get these dogs adopted out faster, right? I'm okay with that, but I need more help. So I guess at the end of the day, the whole point to this very long-winded message is we win some, we lose some. And some might feel like a loss, but at the end of the day, they're a tie, right? It's not a win. It's not a win ever when you have to put a dog down. It's never a win. Never. So I've had to put down some, in quotes, great dogs, but it's because they were great for me and they weren't safe for society. It's not their fault. It's their creator's fault. So whoever that person is. Well, that person isn't the one shedding tears. It's me. It's you. So sometimes we have to call a tie in order to save the potential victims. Right? There is a dog at the kennel who's killed multiple dogs. There's a dog at the kennel that got put down for killing a dog. Is that where we call it? Or do we call it before that happens? What if it was your dog? What if it's your child walking that dog that got killed? What if your child? What if your grandma? What if your mom? What if your wife? What if your husband, your sister, was in the middle of that attack? What if the dog that killed your dog turned on the person walking that dog? Because the scenarios are endless. And so sometimes our hearts have to be put on the table and logic and reason have to prevail. So I hope that everyone can make it through today. I have my all I want to do is rescue dogs and drink margarita shirt on today. And I need that to say, and eat tacos. I think today might be a margarita taco kind of day. Thank you guys all for your support. Watching this video to the end. I know it's a tad long, but it was an important message to get out.